and welcome to Between the Rows. I'm Ed White, your host this week. Today we'll hear about how a massive new logistical hub in Winnipeg is better connecting Canadian agriculture to overseas markets and up and down North America.
Centerport is a 20,000 acre inland port project, and that's pretty sizable.
We'll hear about and from some auctioneers, and that's always fun.
I'm at them 510, I'm at them $5 now, 20, I'm at a 20 bid, 25, I'm at them 25, I've been a 30, 35, I've been a 30, 35, I'm 30, 35, I'm at a 30, 35, I've been sold $30.
We'll get Tobin Dick's take on auto racing, hoe drills, and the process of farm financial decision making.
There I am, surfing Kijiji, naively believing I am being proactive by compiling a list of affordable capital investment considerations when it's clear all I'm actually doing is teetering on the edge of a decision that would finally out me as a fraud of a farmer.
But first, a word from our sponsor.
No matter where you're at in your agricultural career, succession has probably crossed your mind. Whether you have that "I want the next generation to thrive" idea or "I want to get a head start" idea, RBC can help tailor a succession plan for you. Ensure that ownership of your operation, as well as your skills and knowledge, are easily passed on. Visit rbc.com/succession to learn more.
Recently, 37 auctioneers from across Canada converged on Lloydminster, Saskatchewan, Alberta for the Canadian Livestock Auctioneers Contest during the Livestock Markets Association of Canada's conference. Canadian cattleman's Lisa Gunther caught up with a couple of the contestants to find out why they do it, how they do it, and who to watch for in the competition.
Hey, well, all right, sir, here we go there, and what are you going to give for him? I'm at 25, will they give me $30, 30, make it 30, bid it a 30, 35, and now the 40, make it a 40, bid it a 40, now 5, 5, 5, make it a 45, and now 50 on the bond there. There was a boy in Arkansas who wouldn't listen to his ma when she told him that he should go to school.
So my name is John Byer. I am from Worman, Saskatchewan. I work for Saskatoon Livestock Sales as an auctioneer.
So what are the judges going to be looking for today?
So the criteria for judging, it's going to be based upon several factors. One is going to be professionalism, how you present yourself as an auctioneer. Another one is going to be on clarity and chant. So they want to make sure that you're having a good, clear, concise chant. Make sure that everybody can understand you and hear you.
So tell me a little bit about, I guess it's the chant. Like, how do you develop a chant, and what's the goal of that?
Well, really, a chant is developed over time, and basically, when we have a sale like we have here today in Lloydminster with 4,000 head of cattle, you can't waste time waiting for these buyers. So we develop a chant through auction school, basically starting off with numbers in sort of a 2/4 rhythm.
$25 bidder now, $30, 30, will they give me 30, make it 30, bidder, bomb, $30, will they give me 30?
You practice that over and over again, and then basically what you use then is what are called filler words, and filler words are, in a way to say it is what makes your auction chant flow. So they can range anywhere from words like dollar, bid, now, dollar down here. And it just takes a lot of practice, and I mean a lot of practice, hours upon hours of developing your chant, selling almost every day, practicing every day to get that chant. So you can develop it and run the sale in a timely manner.
but would you mind just doing a little bit of a chant now for me?
For sure. So my chant, I'll just give a quick explanation. My chant, I don't use too many filler words. The most I say is I'm bid and a dollar. But yeah, I'll just go up in my $5 scale here. So I'm at a $5.10, I'm at a $5.10 now, 20, I'm at a 20 bid, 25, I'm at a 25, I've been a 30, 35, I've been a 30, 35. I'm 30, 35, I'm at a 30, 35, I've been sold $30. So
awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it just takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, and it's so, I just love listening to it. Yeah.
As time went on, he did his best and all could see he didn't jest. He practiced calling bids both night and day. His pap would find him behind the barn just working up an awful storm as he tried to imitate the auctioneer. Then his pap said, son, we just...
First off, if you could just introduce yourself for us.
My name is Rob Bergevin. I'm past president of the Livestock Markets Association of Canada, and I am owner and operator of Foothills Livestock Auctioneers in Staveley, Alberta.
So for those that aren't super familiar maybe with auctioneers or have just always wondered, like, what's the psychology behind kind of that spiel and the style and everything? What's your goal?
Well, actually, it's very cool to be an auctioneer, isn't it? I mean, you're sitting in front of all these people and conducting a sale, right? So that was what attracted me to it. I worked in the back alleys, and I thought that seat sitting up there was a lot more comfortable and got a lot more attention than I got back there. So I aspired to become an auctioneer. I went to auction college and then developed my auction enchant, and then continued to get some jobs, and then more so as things went on. And so the bottom line of an auctioneer, and that's, I was being facetious there, but the fact of the matter is that our job is to get as much money as we can for that consignor that brought us an item to sell. And really, this is the only place where we can find true price discovery. If you have a vehicle for sale and you want $5,000 for it, nobody's going to come to you and say, that's too cheap, I'm going to give you $6,000. But that happens in our industry all the time. You see today, these cows that have been trading normally anywhere else on the planet from $1 to $1.05 to $1.15, they're bringing $1.15 to $1.25 today. So that's the competitive auction market method of marketing cattle, which brings us to price discovery, and that's what keeps us earning a living.
At the end of the day, Rob made it into the top 10. Brad Martins of Westlock, Alberta took home the champion's buckle, and Jesse Campbell was named the Canadian champion rookie livestock auctioneer. And John was also very happy with his performance and said it was one of his best.
That was Lisa Gunther of Canadian Cattlemen speaking with auctioneers in Lloydminster. This is Between the Rows. There's something big on the horizon in the Eastern Prairies. Right in the east-west center of the country, on the edge of Winnipeg, a giant logistical distribution and processing hub is coming together one piece at a time. It's a development that promises to provide better connections for Canadian agriculture to faraway markets, as well as a reason for processors and manufacturers to set up and use the products Canadian farmers produce. I had a chance to speak with Centerport Canada's president and CEO, Diane Gray, about the project and what it means for farmers and agriculture. Obviously, Winnipeg is at the heart of Canada's grain industry in many ways. There's a lot of production, obviously, to our west, and rails connect it all. What is this going to mean for the agricultural trade from Canada with both the United States and now Mexico?
Well, what it does, I think, particularly for companies that are looking for sites to do value-added agribusiness activity, it could be food processing, it could be fertilizer, it could be other related activities on the value-add side, is it gives them a potential location that is connected to rail. So the rail park, for example, is immediately south of the CP East-West line. In Manitoba, that's referred to as the Carberry subline. And in an interswitch zone with both BNSF and CN. So it gives them a potential site to locate that is proximate to rail. It's proximate to the Perimeter Highway and Centerport Canada Way. It allows for access to a labor force in terms of the city of Winnipeg. Centerport is also a high voltage power site designated by Manitoba Hydro. Generally speaking, value add agribusiness processing activities need large quantities of power. And so this is ready-made, tailor-made, frankly, for those kind of activities. And obviously, the rail park is facilitating quick cross-dock access between truck and rail. Generally speaking, whether it's agribusiness or other rail-intensive industries, they're also quite truck-intensive. So a fair bit of thinking has gone into the ideal site for this project. But the goal is basically to provide that opportunity for companies that are looking to take our resources in Manitoba and do that value-added activity here in the province rather than ship them out raw. So that's a lot of what I would call the opportunity around what Centerport and the rail park specifically could mean to that industry.
And you mentioned before the CP situation with its if everything is approved, that would be direct connection right from
direct connection. Yes, and so Patterson Global Foods has a large inland terminal at Centerport right now. And they have, in addition to that terminal, they have a fertilizer distribution facility, and they're currently building an oat processing facility called O Foods. Their development is linked by rail, both to CN and CP, and they ship a significant amount of their product right down south into Mexico and on into Central and South America. So currently, there is obviously grain trade happening on the continent. But what I think the acquisition does is it streamlines that even further. No longer do cars or trains have to be switched to another carrier. It's a straight shot, essentially. And Winnipeg is one of the northern terminuses of that new single rail line down from Canada to Mexico.
Centerport has begun working on a sprawling rail yard.
It's a 665-acre development. It's located in the RM Rosser part of Centerport, and it will be accessed on the eastern side by Centerport Canada Way and the Perimeter Highway on the western side. Now, what this project does is this is not a competing intermodal site. What this is intended to do is offer industrial space, and it's already zoned for heavy industrial because of the rail activity there. It will offer companies that manage part of their supply chain by rail to be able to locate in that industrial park and share infrastructure. So there will be spur lines off of the CP main line and leads and switches first, and then spur lines directly to the sites. There will be an on-site switcher. So there will be some efficiencies created in terms of being able to manage the cars that are being dropped off by the railroad. And, so it creates an economy of scale for the companies locating there, but also for the railroads that are serving them. And that's also important because, it's one thing if you're generating full unit train of activity. You've probably got the attention of the rail carrier. But if you're generating less than full unit train, or if it's manifest or other type of rail cargo, you may not be generating that interest. So by co-locating, you create interest by the railroad in servicing that area. but you also can share the infrastructure and share the costs, and companies then don't have to bear that on their own.
And how would farmers realize this giant complex exists? It's a huge spread of things, but a lot of things that happen beyond the farm gate sometimes are hard to see if you're not near it. Is there a way that farmers will realize this port is actually operating?
Well, I think what new value-added agribusiness does is that it creates demand in the marketplace for potentially new agribusiness products. And, so let's use Merit Functional Foods as a very specific example. So they're the very first canola protein processing facility. They're also doing pea fractionization for the purposes of protein extraction. And they're ultimately creating a water-soluble protein that they're selling to Nestle Corporation. Now, they're one company now in the marketplace competing for peas or soybeans. We also have Roquette at Portage La Prairie. And, demand, as we know, creates opportunities for farmers. And so, our goal in trying to leverage our natural assets in terms of our agricultural economy by having more value-added agribusiness here, in my opinion, creates higher demand and in turn could create higher prices for farmers, or higher value-added agricultural crops for farmers with a local market for them. So my sense is that farmers are very savvy. I find that I grew up in Southwest Manitoba in an agricultural community. They're very savvy. They tend to know what's going on in the general marketplace, particularly as it relates to agriculture and new agricultural companies coming in. And so I think where they see demand, I think they're going to jump on it, and that will create opportunities for them as the downstream impact for producing those products.
That was Centerport President and CEO Diane Gray speaking with me. This is Between the Rows. And now, farmer columnist Tobin Dick makes some unlikely connections.
It looks good, but I would stay away from those openers if I were you, said one farmer. Check the tank. That model has one that is prone to rust, cautioned another. Ooh, poly packers. You can do what you want, but I used those once and they didn't properly close the rows, said someone whose opinion I trust. My favorite used equipment comment, though, either solicited or unsolicited, is that thing will give you nothing but problems. And I've heard that one so many times. There I am, surfing Kijiji, naively believing I am being proactive by compiling a list of affordable capital investment considerations when it's clear all I'm actually doing is teetering on the edge of a decision that would finally out me as a fraud of a farmer. At least that's what those comments would have me believe. Investing in used machinery may not be so dramatic for most of you. In fact, I really hope it isn't. But for me, these decisions carry a lot of weight, and they are not easily made. The idea of having an established rubric through which farm investment decisions can be made appeals to me. I'd estimate well over half the farmers I have discussed potential purchases with would proudly and paternalistically tell me what they think are the most important considerations for decisions related to large farm expenditures. Of those people, I'm willing to throw down, say, $100. That less than a third of them actually make decisions the way they are telling me to. More often than not, these puffy-chested adages that would make Warren Buffett or whomever your business idol happens to be proud are nothing more than lofty justifications for impulsive purchases. Observing this is both a gift and a curse. I may be able to see what's really going on, but what's really going on is not helping me arrive at better decision-making skills. We have and still use a hoe drill to seed our crops, with the exception of canola, which I have contracted out over the last few years. The drill works well, sometimes very well. The machine itself is understandable. Mechanically, it couldn't be more analog, more simple. I get it. It's the Occam's razor of farm machinery. I wouldn't be surprised if, in my lifetime, there will be a massive tech correction and implements like our hoe drill will be heralded as a symbol of the golden age of seeding equipment. It just has that feel to it. But it's old. It won't last forever. It actually might. But I'm starting to fear that my inability to decide on its successor is holding my farm back in actual, quantifiable ways. Are we losing yield to uneven seed placement? Wasting seed on miscalculated rates? Maybe. Maybe not. My wife and I started watching the Netflix series Formula One, Drive to Survive, which has built compelling, binge-worthy narratives around a sport I have not previously paid attention to. In a short YouTube video, Formula One engineer James Allison gives viewers a brief walkthrough of the Mercedes car sitting in front of him, as well as the attitude that pushed the company to take an already winning design and rebuild it into something better. In the video, he says, "The temptation for us was just to keep polishing that one," pointing to the 2019 car. After all, it finished the season really strongly and it was developing really fast all the way through the year. So there was still lots of opportunity to make that one quicker. That conservative approach was very, very tempting. But in the end, we decided that wouldn't be enough. We would take every part of the car and challenge ourselves to see if we could make it better. The similarities between our hoe drill and the official car of the 2019 Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 team are few, but I appreciate Allison's strong commentary against not being content with good enough. We don't buy seeders or make large decisions on our farms for wins or to earn pole positions, but farmers have the choice or opportunity to advance with the world around them, stay the same effectively bowing out of the race, or pushing themselves to stay ahead. Imagine all of these heavy analogies simultaneously muddying what should be a simple $10,000 to $15,000 air seeder purchase off of Kijiji. I have a few listings favorited right now. I've sent them around, and the comments that kicked off this column represent a smattering of them. I'm not sure what I'll do yet. I have been in this position before, electing to be content with what we have for yet another year, with a plan to reassess down the line. The farm, like all of your farms, has other looming needs as well. In the meantime, though, I'll continue to pursue a practical and believable rubric for the decisions facing me.
That's all for this week. Join us again next week for another edition of Between the Rows. I'm Ed White, and I hope you are facing neither drought nor floods and are able to get out there and get seeding.
No matter where you're at in your agricultural career, succession has probably crossed your mind. Whether you have that "I want the next generation to thrive" idea or "I want to get a head start" idea, RBC can help tailor a succession plan for you. Ensure that ownership of your operation, as well as your skills and knowledge, are easily passed on. Visit rbc.com/succession to learn more.